to the Sword Chomp podcast, the second official Sword Chomp podcast. My name is Morgan. I'll be your host today, and I'm going to go around and introduce the crew real quickly here so you guys can get some voice association, meet everybody for a little bit. I'll start with you, Fish. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, sir.
Sounds plucky. You surprised us this morning. You messaged us that you got the Sword Chomp SoundCloud up and running.
I did. I got our first ever podcast uploaded to SoundCloud, and yeah, it was exciting actually writing down the descriptions and everything and setting up everything. I felt like I was getting shit done. I felt productive.
I'm proud of you. Yeah, so that's a really cool thing that we just started. People will probably, if they find this podcast, they'll probably see me promoting it on the Instagram, or eventually, soon we're going to have the Facebook going and places like that. So SoundCloud is a big place for people that don't want to get it on iTunes or wherever it's going to be. So that's going to be pretty cool.
But it will be there eventually on iTunes.
Yes, that's the main goal, because, I mean, that's where all podcasts should live, is on iTunes. And that wonderful voice emanating from the darkness there is Shay. How are you doing today, Shay?
I am Peach Keen. I had a long, hot day at work. I was pulling bees out of a cage, multiple cages, and I literally was... My clothes were entirely soaked in sweat, and I was ready to come home, shower, relax, and give you the sound of my sultry voice as we talk about video games.
Yay! I'm ready for that voice.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for Josh to make some sort of inappropriate comment, and it never came. I was
No,
sad.
I mean, there's the obvious sex dungeon, thing going on. Yeah. Anyway, we'll leave him and his bees alone.
I was gonna say, how do you
Those
jump
caged
on
bees.
bees out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Those poor bees.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tracking that. There's a cage involved, and that can kind of work,
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
It
was
did
kinda
need to be
sad.
said.
Yeah. It was kind of sad. There's this moment where I was trying to catch this female bee, and I was going to close this glass lid on her, and I accidentally snapped her neck.
Oh.
I felt so bad.
Oh.
It was really
do you ever
sad.
get not to divert ourselves, but like, do you have to wear like a little bee suit or anything like that to protect yourself?
No, these type of bees, they actually they don't like nest in a hive. They're solitary bees, so they'll nest on their own, and they don't have big stingers or big enough bite for it to actually hurt. It would feel like if somebody took their fingernails and were just barely pinching your skin, where it just like stings a tiny bit. That's about it. Doesn't hurt.
Unless you like have some sort of allergic reaction, right?
Yeah, that's a different story, and thankfully I don't have allergies, or I'm not allergic to anything.
Easy to say that you have the more interesting job of anyone here. And Shay's been working hard to get our first podcast edited and spliced, and
Yeah.
so thank you. Got music in there. Got the first show edited. It sounds
Yes. Before I forget, I'm sorry. I don't want to forget this going forward. I want to thank both Rocco W and Lately Kinda Yeah for lending us their music. Thank you guys very much. If you guys, any of the listeners are interested, they're both on SoundCloud. You can go check out their music. They make awesome chiptune music. So yeah, the opener is now Rocco W, and the closing song that we have is done by Lately Kinda Yeah. So check them both out if you guys are interested, if anybody's interested.
Nice.
That's really, really cool. And yeah, Josh. I mean, Josh is recording the show right now, recording extraordinaire. But every time I kept texting Josh this week about anything podcast or Sword Chomp related, it was just his response was something to do with No Man's Sky, like he was just ignoring my ass.
I mean, that's related. I have to get all that done so I have something to talk about. Yeah.
That's you were doing.
I mean, it's not like I'm addicted. I can stop anytime I want.
I'm not addicted. That is a beautiful segue for us, Josh, because we've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky, which is pretty much the only thing people are talking about right now, because it's the end of summer and there's not really a lot going on in the video game world, and it also is a huge game that dropped that we talked a little bit about last week. So Yeah, I mean, I was surprised you were able to get into as much as you did, Josh, because you seemed a little more down on it on our last show, but you seem to be playing the game rather feverishly as of late. So
Yeah, it took a while to get into, and yeah, because of the launch issues before the last show, I really only had time to, just barely turn it on, make sure it actually worked on my machine, a little bit. Um, yeah, once you get into it, there's a lot going on there, um, to suck you in. Um,
oh, can you say that again? You said that so nicely, Josh. Um, there's a lot of moving parts there. Well, and like it's interesting because we finally got Fish tried to record his first like 40 minutes with the game. Well, he did record. You recorded your first 40 minutes with the game, right, Fish?
I did, yeah. I got it's kind of weird right now because it's a new game, and I guess programs like that I use to record don't necessarily pick it up, and there's issues with No Man's Sky, the game itself, as far as like alt tabbing out of it. So it's been kind of a nightmare at the beginning, starting up the game, because I really wanted to get my first impressions of the game and everything. But it took maybe an hour or so before I was actually able to record it, and by then I was just frustrated. Like I couldn't actually, you know, set it up the way I wanted it to. So I ended up just like jumping into the game and finding a way to actually record it. And so I got 40 minutes of video game recorded for me. But yeah, it was just a pain setting it up. But eventually I got into it, and my first impressions on there were. I thought I was really going to be blown away by the graphics, but I don't know. It didn't really hit me as hard as I thought it would, because I kept seeing like screenshots of Josh and Morgan. You guys were sending like screenshots of your games throughout the week as you guys were playing. And I was like, man, I want to play this game so bad. It looks so beautiful. And when I finally got in, like. I turned up all the graphics and everything, and made sure I was at the right frame rate and everything. And it didn't look as good as I thought it was gonna look, but that slowly
did it not look as good as like that's weird. Like, do you think it was just a performance thing, like it wasn't looking as good as it was supposed to, or you like the game at its peak?
Totally performance thing. It's totally a performance thing. It couldn't get it up.
It couldn't quite get there. It wasn't at full mass, as you would say. But no, I worked with the chub, and no,
you worked that. You didn't give up on that little chub. I like that.
I didn't.
Dedication.
No, but eventually I got into it because I kind of grew not numb to it, but I'm not sure what I'm looking for here. But
immunity kind of got immune to it.
Yeah, like it's slowly, like I can see if they later down the road they come out with a patch for the game that upgrades it all. But I'm hoping that comes around. Yeah, I started flowing with it, and the actual game itself, flying from planet to planet, and just growing immune to like the just subtle details in like the graphics that just kind of threw me off. I grew immunity to that, and I started enjoying the game. And yeah, it's a pretty big game.
Well, and then we'll come back to that in a second, because I was going to ask. I want to get some moment-to-moment experiences, Fish, because, like for example, Josh, I didn't want to put you on the spot here because I know you probably have a lot to talk about, and I know the toughest thing with a game like this is for me is trying to narrow down my thoughts for a short little podcast. But like putting you on the spot a little bit, Josh. What? Because I love to do that. What would you say? Give me a moment, something in the game that happened that was like a very No Man's Sky-y kind of thing that's kind of stuck with you. Tell me a story.
A story. Well, let's all right. Probably the planet that made me get into the game and not just decide to give it up was the first one that I went to that had actively aggressive sentinels. So whenever you were just wandering around, you just get attacked without without doing anything to make them angry at you. The locals just didn't like you. Which,
Like you weren't even mining the resources or anything; they were just straight up attacking.
they'll just attack you, which was I think probably earlier than most people encounter it, but it was only like 2 or 3 planets in.
For reference, I've never seen that, but go ahead.
Yeah, and but
How many hours was that?
I don't know. It was maybe 5 hours in.
5 hours. Okay.
Well, 5 to 8. I don't know exactly because.
Here's the better question: how many galaxies roughly were you in?
Well,
First galaxy?
you could kind of skip
2?
past some
It was either-
planets, so.
Yeah, I skipped several planets, so it was either my
Oh.
second or third galaxy.
Skipping planets. Oh my god! No, we're not gonna go down that. Go ahead.
I
but
skipped a
but
bunch.
it broke up
God damn
it broke up the mining enough that it finally made it. Because the whole game is kind of built like a survival game, kind of early Minecraft type. You've got a job to do, but stuff's trying to stop you. But up until that point, it was just that I would run out of fuel. That was all that was stopping me, which is kind of boring as far as
Video
something
game
to
hooks
struggle.
go?
Yeah, something to struggle against. Like you're trying to get to the middle of the universe, but you might run out of fuel. I'm
Dude, I
like,
struggle-
really? That's your hook? Really, you're gonna go with that?
That's like my everyday life trying to struggle to put gas in my fucking.
But yeah, that one planet really kind of turned it around for me. It's kind of maybe, and the combat's not amazing, but it's once there was finally a threat other than running out of fuel, it just I don't know. It was enough to finally suck me into the game.
I think I remember that. Is that whenever
finally
you
get me on board. So
I think I remember that text because you were like, I tried to leave the planet and a bunch of like spaceships attacked me. Or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Like it was the first planet I got to where there was ever really any threat, and I did some mining there, but also you get materials just killing the enemies. So I did that, and I was finally ready to move on, go on to the next planet, next star. And I get ready to leave the planet, and I get attacked by pirates for the first time as well, which just kind of sealed the deal. As far as what the game I think needs to feel like to have any sort of threat to your actual survival.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that they managed to hook you in that way because that would have been the opposite for me, as you well know. I would have been just like, I need to get the fuck out of this planet as soon as possible. I'm not about this fucking like battle shit. But so Fish, before I was gonna tell a story too, but before I was wondering, Fish, if you had any experiences. I know you've had less time with it than we are. You only had the one night with it, I think.
2 nights actually.
2 nights, okay. Have you had any sort of cool sort of experiences that have stuck out in your mind, or is even silly things that have stuck out to you?
Yeah. The last thing actually, as I was playing it the other night, I was leaving a planet. Well, actually, I was exploring this planet, and I got whatever I had to get done for the quest there, which was to get like a hyperdrive or not a hyperdrive, but the schematics to actually build fuel for my warp drive, and I got done with that. But my planet was so like not rich, but it was just interesting to like fly over the planet, and for a while I was just flying over the planet for like 10-15 minutes, just like looking down, just panning around, and there's just so much shit to look at. Like I was looking at little encampments, like there's little areas of interest marked with like a question mark where I could go to, but I was just flying past them, just looking at all the different stuff that I could actually drop down and land to, and like all the stuff you see you can actually get to, which is it was kind of mind-blowing to me, just flying around like